so much for coming out this first Ramadan, this first night. It takes a lot of effort. I know after Fajr, it's a struggle for me. Inshallah, it's probably a struggle for all of us, but it's a shared struggle. So the shared struggle is the one where we have the most resilience and strength. So alhamdulillah, bismillah. Let us begin. So this the Dhikr session, the 99 name session, I hope it will be of some benefit, but it'll be something very simple, very straightforward. Inshallah, we will begin each session going forward covering a divine name of Allah. Covering 1 to 3 divine names of Allah. And inshallah, the goal is to cover 3 so that by the end of Ramadan, we will have covered all of the names. I'm going to, real quick, just as a side note, I'm going to change my video so it doesn't mirror me because I look kind of weird the other way, so don't mind that. Yeah, so as we start, inshallah, we'll also be doing a recitation of the 99 names. You may have heard these in childhood. You may have heard these kind of growing up. This is just a part and parcel of this session. And then the last part we'll do is we're going to do a dhikr of the 3 names that we have lifted up. So inshallah, I hope it is of some benefit. Today's names will be Ar-Rahman, Ar-Raheem, and Al-Malik. But before we can get into the divine names that these are, we've got to spend a little bit of time, just a minute or so, telling about Allah, about the name Allah. And Allah is, for reference, the book I'll be using here is called Divine Names, the 99 Healing Names of the One Love by Rosina Fawzia Al-Rawi. It's from the Sufic tradition, but it helps give a holistic image to Allah, one that many of us are probably not really used to growing up with. We were probably used to a God that was very based in terms of teaching of fear, in terms of teaching of guilt and shame. This book and the tradition as a whole really lifts up that element of love, that element of mercy, that element of compassion when it comes to the Creator. So Allah, as I mentioned, is the name Allah, and the being of Allah is that absolute being that embraces all these other names. So all these names, they spring forth from Allah, whether it's Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, these all come forth from Allah. And as they come forth from Allah, they spring forth into the world, and they spring forth from the world into the creation as a whole. And they're thus a manifestation of Allah in the world. And the essential meaning of Allah, beyond what we might associate with in terms of like fear or anything like this we might have gotten earlier on in our lives, or just in terms of growing up, the essential meaning of Allah is actually closer to a deep, passionate love. And all of these other divine names then represent how different aspects of this love and this divinity play out in the world. And, you know, whether you've kind of been in high school science class, you probably come across the famous quote by Carl Sagan that, you know, we're made of star stuff, that we come from and share these elements, share these same kinds of just ingredients in our body that are reflective of the cosmos, are reflective of different celestial bodies of the heavens. And as such, we also in Islam have that same tradition of each having a divine spark from each of these divine names, which all stem from Allah. So essentially, we are star stuff. We are heavenly beings in that sense. And as I mentioned, that each divine name, it works on 2 levels. The divine name, first and foremost, helps us to get to know who Allah is. Oftentimes, Allah is that abstract. Allah is that unreachable, unconnectable entity that we just can't really relate to. So these divine names first help us connect to Allah because it lifts up a quality, it lifts up an attribute, it lifts up a name which we are familiar with. And then secondly, it helps us get to know our true self because we're made from this star stuff. We're made from these divine sparks. And so we get to then know a little bit more about ourselves here. So today, as with each day, we hope to gain a greater access to Allah through these 3 names that we'll be discussing. And then, as the Prophet ﷺ had stated, that the one who knows themselves knows their Lord. And inshallah, in this journey, in these 99 name sessions that we do each day, I pray that we may come together to know ourselves better and subsequently know Allah. The 99 names allow us to break through and access our true nature and source of our creation and all things. And we pray that we hold this key steadily, but we know that this is a key we've been given to not just let us know who Allah is and get to know Allah, but also getting to know ourselves. So the first part, as I mentioned, and this will be in, we'll probably keep this going in a sense. We do a recitation of the Asma al-Husna, the 99 names of Allah. And you, like I said, you've heard these recited probably by much better vocalists, Atif Aslam among them, and so many others. But just you just feel something different when reciting it. So what I wanted to make with the intention of this session is, I know we're all gathering virtually, we're in our own spaces here. So as you are comfortable, I'll do a recitation of it, and I will have, I'm actually going to share my screen here for you all so you can follow along with the divine names. And as you follow along, you are able to see them directly, but also in doing so, you can recite them to yourself. So you don't have to worry about, like, just if my voice is really bad, which sometimes it could be, I'm sorry. But you can recite it to yourself. So inshallah, let me pull up these slides and we can start here. Let me just pull this up. All right. And so we're just going to go to the beginning here, inshallah. All right. All right, so as I begin, you are welcome to recite in yourself. Just for the clarity of the Zoom call, we're going to have everyone muted here, and I'll just conduct it here. But to yourself, if you would like to recite it, if you'd like to internalize it, whatever allows you best to just hear these names, to not just hear these names, but also see what we are seeing here. So let's go ahead and inshallah, we're going to get started here. Bismillah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق الباري المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيت الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواصي الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحصي مبدي المعيذ المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الأحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني الماني الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي وارث الرشيد الصبور. Now take a moment to just internalize these names that we've recited. Inshallah, we'll do this as a daily practice. You don't have to memorize the names, you don't have to know them by heart. This is just to fill that day, fill the space with the divine, and all among all these qualities, because Allah is not just one thing. Allah is all encompassing and reflective of all that is around us. So inshallah, just beginning quickly with our reflections here. Our first name, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. These two names we recite so often, whether in prayer or just in general. We just have probably come to have these as second nature. So Ar-Rahman, of course, referring to the most gracious, the most merciful, the one who brings blessings, the compassionate. And Ar-Rahim, the most compassionate, the most kind, the merciful, the performer of blessed deeds, the most gracious. And Ar-Rahman covers a overflowing kind of mercy, as does Ar-Rahim. But the analogy to use in terms of to kind of understand the two different types of mercy that we have here, you have Ar-Rahman, which is like the manifest sky. It's like the wide open sky of mercy. And Ar-Rahim is like a laser focused sun ray that just comes down and brings warmth to you directly. So it's these attributes of mercy, but operating in two different ways. And Ar-Rahman is very much like that ebb of the ocean that really takes us back to our origin. And Ar-Rahim is the flow of the mercy that is consistent and keeps coming. And this divine mercy is first and foremost not just found in terms of Allah being merciful to us, but as we mentioned, the divine names are reflected in all that is around us. And so the divine names are then, the divine mercy is then in all things and for all things. So we see it with us as human beings that when we are given mercy, we also subsequently give mercy to other things or to other people. And sometimes we don't even think about it. You know, if we may give some money to someone on the side of the road, or we may help somebody in some need or whatnot, we may just think that that's a good act, but we don't amplify that in the sense that how much more significant that one small deed is, that service is, and how that is actually reflective of the divine. I've been talking to some folks about this in the sense that we live in two different spaces, two different headspaces, where we have our faith life and we have our just primary everyday life. And we often associate that our faith is constricted to a prayer mat and a Quran, but that our relationship with Allah actually transcends that and is manifest in our everyday lives. And so these names of Ar-Rahim and Ar-Rahman share a common root, though. They share a common root, which also helps us feel connected. They're connected by the root of Rahim. And this root in Arabic actually means, holds the sacred meaning of womb, holds the sacred meaning of kinship, holds the sacred meaning of compassion and sympathy. Rahim is the womb in which we were all conceived, in which we were all born. And in a similar light, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim are connected to this Rahim, this womb, because it shows how connected we are, but also how connected our Creator is to us. It's no longer a deity or an entity that just creates and leaves us, or we have just a complete disconnected relationship. Rather, we now have a relationship that's so intimate. We have a relationship that's like one of with our mothers, with our parents, that is so intimate because it's taken time, it's taken process for us to be created and for the created one to create us, and so much love that goes into that. And so the last thing on these names being that these names remind us of the ties of kinship, of our connectedness to one another, and to the innate mercy that we've been bestowed and that we contain and we interact with each day. So we keep this in mind as we go forth. And our last name today, inshallah, is Al-Malik. So we covered Ar-Rahman, we covered Ar-Rahim. Al-Malik is defined as the sovereign, the ruler, and the king. And a lot of times we look at a name like this and we're like, what can we get of benefit from this? But what this name helps us recognize and can help us recognize is that we are free of all possessions, and knowing that everything that is here on this earth, everything that belongs to us, or that we think belongs to us, actually belongs to Allah. And that includes other people that are in our lives. That includes other people in and around our sphere. That whatever we do, however we affect them, we are actually affecting fellow people who are contained within Allah's dominion. And so it opens a feeling of gratefulness, of enjoyment, of beauty, because this is something that's been bestowed to us, but it's something that we don't possess. We don't. This is not ours. This is we're here as stewards. We're here to caretake for this. But Allah alone is sufficient, and Allah alone holds us. And this root of Malik, of Mim Lam Kaf, holds the basic meaning of holding something in one's hand. So just holding something to grasp something, but also to own the existence of something. So you make something, but that's yours. That's your invention. You've got that patent on it. But it traces us back to many common references of he's got the whole world in his hands, or God's got the world in his hands, or God holds creation, the mantle of creation, within the palm of God's hand. And just like Kendrick Lamar said, if God's got us, we're gonna be all right. So we understand that it's not just a king to subjects, but it's some entity that has us in the sphere of their divine clutches, in their divine hands, that they are nurturing us. So similarly, you see an image of gardening, where a gardener holds up some soil and there's a small sapling that's coming out, and that image of how much nurturing is going involved in that creation is similar to that, and not so much like a king to a subject, but to a humble gardener to that which is garden, but taking the time to hold this that is the garden in their arms. And through acknowledging this dominion, we actually can find liberation in our own beings. And what really gives us this liberation is that we don't have attachments now to the specific things of the world, and we don't specifically see other people as anything but fellows in creation, that we are all connected because we share in this creation. And so just to wrap up on this point, that each of these names actually gives us a connection, in the sense that Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman show us that we are connected, show us that we do share that degree of connection, and that connection is underwritten by mercy. That connection is defined by mercy. And then Al-Malik shows us that within this mercy, though, whose divine hand are we in? Whose divine world, whose divine womb are we in which we hold this? And so we acknowledge that we are all connected through these three names. And what can we do in our lives now, going forth into the day, as we think about these names of Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik? One thing is connection, thinking that everything that you see in this world, a plant, a person, a human being, everything is connected. And so taking that with us. And inshallah, as we go on, we will relate back to these names and take it there. But now we conclude with a dhikr of these three names. So I will share a brief dhikr that I had learned at a retreat a few years back by some really blessed souls whose hard work and hard work this is to reflect on Allah. At that time, it didn't hit me. It didn't occur to me just how powerful of it is that they're doing, but it really does show how powerful it can be to reflect on the divine. So I'll begin with the dhikr of La ilaha illallah, and then I'll begin from there with the reflection on each of these names in recitation. You can just watch along and just listen along, because it's probably a different pattern than you've heard, but you're welcome to, as it gets familiar, to join in and recite in your respect as you feel comfortable. So I will do each of these recitations 3 times, for La ilaha illallah, for Ar-Rahman, for Ar-Rahim, for Al-Malik, and then one more time for La ilaha illallah, inshallah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah, Allah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah, Allah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah, Allah. Ar-Rahman, 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 Ar-Rahman. Ya Rahman, 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 Ya Rahman. Ya Rahman, 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 Ya Rahman. Ar-Rahim, 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 Ar-Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim. Al-Malik, 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 Al-Malik. Ya Malik, 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 Ya Malik. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah, Allah. Brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khair for attending this session. I hope it was of some benefit. But again, as we leave today, let us remember as we enter this blessed month, as we enter any day and we start any action, we always start with the Bismillah, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. If it's driving a car, if it's opening a door, whatever it might be. Oftentimes we say this, but it's just a ritual. Let us internalize what we're really saying and how connected we are, whether it's to that door, to that car, to that action. Because when we recognize how connected we are to each other and to this creation, we then unveil that connectivity that Allah has, not just to us, but to everything that is around us. And we find that we are in this mulk, in this dominion of Allah, and nowhere removed from Allah. So inshallah, I pray that this has been of benefit. And inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be doing this 30 more times. So inshallah, we'll see y'all then. But Jazakallah khair for coming. May you have a blessed Ramadan. And get some sleep if you need some. Otherwise, get ready for work, whatever it takes. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for coming. Shadia, can I stop the live stream? Oh, thank you, Shadia.
Hello.